Welcome to the show, everyone. With less than 24 hours to go before the governorship election in Anambra State, the scene is set, and INEC is reporting that 98.8% of registered voters have already collected their permanent voter cards ahead of this election. That's some 2.7 out of 2.8 million people. Will it change the fortune of voter turnout in Anambra this time? That's a big question because in 2017, only 21% of registered voters came out. That number dipped to as low as 10% in 2021, perhaps one of the lowest voter turnout we've seen across the country. Meanwhile, across the state, residents are quietly preparing for tomorrow, some of them storming markets for foodstuff in the run-up to polling day. And while INEC says it's ready, election observers are warning that the election's credibility hinges on three tests. One is the efficiency of logistics. Will INEC get the materials to polling units on time? Less than 28% of polling started before 9:30 a.m. in the last election. There's also procedural integrity as well as impartiality of security agencies. Recall that we spoke with the police commissioner who mentioned that state security personnel will not be allowed for this election. If they are seen out, they will be arrested. Residents of the state are optimistic that tomorrow's election will be seamless and hitch-free. They spoke to TVC News in Oka to demonstrate their preparedness for the election. Our senior reporter Bamdele Ajayi has more in this report.
With barely 24 hours to the scheduled Anambra governorship election, people are moving from one location to another with the aim to participate in the contest. INEC and police are proud to say they are ready to conduct this election. In preparation for tomorrow's governorship election in Anambra State, the state government declared today as a work-free day for all civil and public servants in the state. The work-free day is to afford workers ample time to travel to their respective locations to participate in the election. Residents are busy moving from one location to another so as to participate in the election.
We are all ready and we are looking towards INEC side of the thing based on the new INEC chairman, because we are seeing Anambra as the place for him to showcase what he has in store for Nigerians against 2027 election.
They are optimistic that the exercise, with intense preparation from relevant authorities, will be seamless and hitch-free.
Depending on whom the person wants to elect for or whatever. So as for Nkiru Kanomi Gwelom, I'll travel down to my village, Ogidi, to vote for whom I prefer.
I believe that people are ready to participate in tomorrow's election. I'm happy by the rate of the people that collected their voters' card as announced by INEC. So I believe that people are ready to vote in tomorrow's election.
With a total of 14370 valid new registration from the 326 political ward that made up of the over 2.8 million registered voters for the election. The Independent National Electoral Commission announced that it will be deploying 25,000 adult personnel for this exercise, while the police is boasting of about 45,000 people to ensure that the exercise is hitch-free. And also INEC earlier announced that 16 registered political parties will be contesting this election in 5,718 out of 5,720 polling units. Bamdele Ajayi, TVC News, Oka.
All eyes on Anambra tomorrow. The deployment of security forces for this exercise is unprecedented. We're looking at way over 50,000. And it's also a litmus test for the newest INEC chairman, Professor Amukpiton, who is now overseeing his first election. It is Anambra election, which of course is off cycle. We expect that both INEC and security forces won't have an excuse. They have the luxury of manpower deployed for this exercise, and we're counting down to the big one tomorrow. We're having a sit down with the resident electoral commissioner again to understand where INEC is today. We're also hearing some updates from Ihiala local government area, what the arrangement will be for this particular election. It's literally hours away, and we'll have that conversation shortly after this break. Stay with us, everyone. Thanks for staying with us, everyone. Residents of Anambra State are now set to exercise their franchise in another governorship election in less than 24 hours. As the D-Day draws nearer, many voters are heading to the polls with mixed feelings. Our correspondent Uche Okoro has more in this report.
Awka, the capital city, is bustling. Residents, traders and motorists hurry to conclude the activities for the day before the restriction of movement begins. Many of them are ready to vote, confident in the integrity of the electoral process.
Sure, I will come out to cast my vote tomorrow because it's my fundamental human right. So that's why we need to come out tomorrow to vote for our preferable candidate for the governorship election.
Well prepared. As you can see, I'm traveling to my village where I will cast my vote. This place is not my voting place. I'm going down to my town, Umuchu, my village, Bubu, to fulfill the civic responsibility.
Of course, I will vote because it's my right as a good citizen and it's my franchise. I will exercise it. So I will vote. So what are your expectations? My expectation is that a good leader who is in the mind of people, who has the good interest of the people should win this election.
Amongst the prospective voters, however, some like 71-year-old Francis Obiekwe are uncertain of what to expect.
I'll come out and vote. I'll come out, but after the voting, let them count the vote where it's supposed to be. You know, let them count the vote the way it's supposed to be. Because I'm already telling you my age now. Since 1955 to this time, I never get any good result with Nigerian government, with good result.
Some registered voters might boycott the polls. Eze Emmanuel voted in the last two governorship elections but has decided to sit back at home this time.
Anambra is.
But regardless of their choice, the people are hoping that the exercise would be peaceful.
The people involved in it have already elected the people, the person they seems right that will become the governor of Anambra State. So me coming out to vote is like wasting of my time. So I will stay at home and watch them declare the winner.
INEC registered 88,000 new voters in Anambra State since the governorship election of 2021. Even though that represents an increase of just 4%, stakeholders are hoping that this will translate to higher voter turnout compared to previous years. Uche Okoro, TVC News, Awka.
When we spoke with the resident electoral commissioner last week, she gave us some really precise readiness figures from the number of BVAS machines deployed for this election. She mentioned that there are 183 split units created, 978 reserve BVAS machines, all charged and configured. She also interestingly mentioned that there hasn't been any BVAS breakdown since November 2022 when she took office. I got some contrary opinion to that regard online. We're expecting to find out precisely what the operational guarantee will be ahead of the election tomorrow and how prepared the umpire is, especially with the BVAS machines that we understand now comes with power packs and backups. We're expecting to speak with her shortly if we can get her in our office, but we understand how busy today is for INEC and every other stakeholder. Joining me now is senior correspondent Solomon Ajoziogo, who is live in Awka for us. Today is a work-free day, Solomon. I believe giving everyone the opportunity to travel back to base ahead of the election. What have you seen play out, with that holiday?
So we had to go to towards the government house and public offices across the state to find out how the work-free day was having effects there. And I must say that, the road to government offices were deserted, almost deserted. Even the governor had to leave early from the government house to go to his hometown, ahead of tomorrow's poll. So, and then we had to go a bit to the bus parks. And I must confess to you that the transport owners were confessing that it has been a beautiful day for them, because passengers appeared to be in a hurry to get to somewhere before nightfall. The frenzy, the movement at the bus park today was fantastic. They made a lot of money because people were rushing to go home to get to vote. We spoke to some of the people, the passengers at the parks, and they said yes, that the main reason that they are going home, rushing home this way, is because they want to go to where they were registered to vote. Well, there are some people who are moving towards Onitsha because they want to quickly get to Asaba, because that's where they are, that's where they live. And so they are rushing down there so that they will not be part of the election because they did not register in the state. So people are heading towards Onitsha then to be able to get into Asaba. But as it is, many of the people in Anambra are really, really going home to their constituencies to make sure that they are part of the vote. In fact, a particular lady spoke to us and she said, in fact, that her mother asked her to come home to be sure that she will be voting for the candidate of her choice. So that is exactly how much it is. We hope that these activities, these movements will translate to higher voter turnout than the 10% they had the last time out when Anambra voted for a governor.
The number dropped from 21% in 2017 to 10% in 2021. Yaga Africa is now also saying that we're probably going to be seeing less than 20%. But trust INEC, every INEC stakeholder I've spoken with are optimistic that all is set and that they've really improved on what we saw 4 years ago. You've spoken about the energy on the street. We're going to now have to hope that it will translate into real votes. But precisely, what is the expectation across stakeholders when it comes to voter turnout this Saturday?
Well, stakeholders, the primary stakeholders usually here will be the politicians who are eternal optimists. Politicians will always tell you they have the numbers, they have the people for them. Even the parties that seem to be, well, they are on the ballot, but some people regard them as not contesting will tell you they're optimistic of beating the incumbent to take over the government house in Oka. So you hear all kinds of things. But one of the general feeling in Oka is that the people of Anambra seem to have a particular style of not being very interested in public office or in government office or in the things that concern government. They are private people, they are egalitarian, they want to do things their own way. And so sometimes some of them are like, okay, so what is it about government and what's their business about government? But this time, the little difference here is that the kind of tension that Anambra witnessed in 2021 is not here now. There is less tension, even though people are still a bit withdrawn, a bit skeptical, a bit cautious and all of that. People are a bit defensive, maybe because of the experience, the trauma of what happened 4 years ago when there seemed to be a lot of conflict around the elections, a lot of bad things that happened around the election. But this time, the town has been peaceful. We've not had the violence in a lot of places, and we're hoping that it will remain so even on the election day. So I think that the less tension in the air is driving people to want to participate a bit more. Now, if Yaga Africa is projecting less than 20%, at least it did not say less than 10%, that will be very, very bad. So if there's an uptick to the 10%, then it's an improvement from 4 years ago.
We have to really count on that, because it also speaks a lot about the legitimacy of the exercise itself. If you are having not more than 10% of registered voters come out, INEC actually says 98.8% have collected their PVCs. We need to get the exact numbers that got theirs this year before this election. But let's talk about security shortly. 45,000 police personnel. We're not counting the other, security forces. That's an unprecedented number. How that number scattered across Anambra, do you see them everywhere? Are they visible? What's the security infrastructure right now? What does it look like the night before election?
So where we were at the bus park, there was a show of force by the police today, driving around town to show their presence. Well, the beauty of this election is that it's an off-cycle election. So it is an election that is holding separate on its own from the general election. And so the government can then, the organizers of the election can then draw on, facilities, logistics from other places into the state. The neighboring states can provide security, officials, and everything. And so you don't have to deal with a general election where elections are holding maybe in 26 or 30 states, but this time you have just one state, so you can draw in all the personnel from everywhere, and that is the beauty of an off-cycle election. You'll be able to deploy more men per polling unit. The rule says that at least 3 officials per polling unit, and if you count that, then you look at the number that they have. Each polling unit then will go to about 15,000 officials, apart from those who will be on reconnaissance and those who will be up and about patrolling the streets and all that. You talked about 45,000 police personnel. We have over 50,000 security personnel altogether in all of this, and this seems a bit good. But then what happens on election day, we'll wait to see how that happens. You talk about legitimacy. Legitimacy in elections is not about the number, the quantum of the number. It's about what the law provides. Now, about those who voted. If 1/10 of registered voters vote, the 1/10 of registered voters decide who becomes the governor. And that is why the people have to get involved. So if the rest of the people, if the 90% refuse to vote and just 10% come out to vote, then the 90% don't have to complain about how the conduct of governance is carried out in their states when they refuse to be part of the vote. So the legitimacy is purely based on the number of people that turns up.
Well, I guess
the number of people that turn up on election.
We see how it plays out tomorrow. Indeed. Solomon Ajozugo live for us in Oka. Thank you so much for the updates there. Let's bring in the resident electoral commissioner, Elizabeth Agu, now for more on this exercise and what is to be expected on Saturday.